And this is such a weird thing because not only is Nerchio facing this pressure, he's got a lot of roaches, he's got a lot of units to deal with this. He'll drop the bios, tanks are going to be pulled back, but he sees Marine tank medevac. And since he didn't get the scout inside of that main base, it's also possible that there ends up being a misread here. Maybe against mech, he would want to go for a much faster hive tech to get Vipers out or something like Broodlords. But in this scenario, it kind of looks like a normal Bio-Terran build.
Nerchio's getting 6 Dropalords. Sorry, he's getting 7 Dropalords. This is old school Nerchio.
It's going to be a drop micro battle between the two of them, trying to push on these tanks. It's not, MVP couldn't reposition his tanks instantly with dropships.
I mean, 114 army supply for Nerchio, +1 is done against the 77 of TY. Everything is quite clumped up. Here we go, Nate.
He's going to try to drop straight on top, but there are so many Hellbats with this army. An unsieged tank DPS. It's insane. Look, he picks up the one at the third base. He doesn't have to worry about this. He can trade out SCVs. Mech's about that gas. As long as he doesn't lose his army, he is A-OK. So many of these units dying. The Viking picking away at these full overlords. He's going to get one with 4 roaches inside. He's forced to unload, and TY's army remains untouched. 8 SCVs, completely pushes this attack back. No problem. I love this style so much. TY running a clinic on how to properly play mech in Legacy of the Void against Zerg. This is not the boring sit back and do nothing. He has been in Nerchio's face the entire game, and he is getting ready. He's getting ready to make the death push. Look at this giant army. A big roach counterattack is going to try to hit him. This could be Nerchio's opportunity to get some work done. He's already going to pull SCVs. He needs to rally his production inside of his main base and just keep his base intact. But there are so many siege tanks and Hellbats. Now there's Hydralisks on the map, but there's plenty to buffer for these tanks as they advance forward.
I do think it's smart by Nerchio that he's going for the counterattack. I almost feel like that was his best option, because just running into this army when it's all set up.
Attacking this was not going to do you any favors.
Oh, he needs to be more careful though with his own units on the right side of the map. He did a good job in evacuating a couple of the drones.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks kind of even, but the biggest problem is his army of TY is probably not going to die unless he too starts messing up, as a couple of Hellbats were split up from the rest of the pack. These drones, Nate?
Ooh. These drones, he can see them. He has the missile turrets very close by, but I think TY feels like he can stop this attack going into his base. So he's moving SCVs out to try and make sure he can also help repair this force. Great catch on those units. TY just needs to keep moving as quickly as he can. The one thing that Nerchio doesn't have that would really help against this is Vipers, but most of the SCVs have actually been cleaned out for TY, trying to get him away from there. He got the Hive, but it's just siege tanks. Now Liberators coming out to help stop the roaches.
Yep, there is still a couple of units dancing in the middle of the map. There is that fort base, but that fort base that normally is a planetary fortress is this time just an orbital. Nerchio has way more workers, so from this point on you could say that every second that goes by is honestly not all that bad for Nerchio, as so many SCVs have died. I love the stutter step here in the middle of the map.
He uses the medevacs, repositions, he cuts him off, he forces him to go towards the top left, and he's going to try to basically just catch this army, block it into the corner, and finish it off. We do have Vipers on the way. These are extremely important, but at this rate, with the size of this army, it's going to be, with how open this map is, he should be able to dodge blinding clouds, and he can also use the medevacs to move sieged tanks in and out of them as well.
Nerchio did end up losing all of these units, but not before taking down 2 more tanks. He's getting Burrow as well. I think that's kind of a cool move. Very, very good run by here, though, by TY. Picking up a couple of... Wow, he's getting a couple of free tanks here. Medevac's going to try to save the day. That does not happen. He could abduct one more time to get the medevac as well. So that looked good for TY, as getting 10 drones with these Hellions was awesome, but losing 3 tanks, that's kind of painful.
There's 10 of them on the map. Abducting these siege tanks into his forces, gets 3. Even the Vikings are at a high risk. He's just going to pull half of them in instantly to the Hydralisks. There are no armor upgrades for the mech force, so they are taking an extreme amount of damage.
Tanks are a tiny bit exposed. Missile turret is making this a little bit harder though, but 2 more tanks will fall. Actually, wow, he picked up one.
So he's brought the Viper count down to 8. There are 2 more on the way. These Hydras continuing to poke forward, and he's not one-shotting these Hydras because he's spread the tanks out. There's such a wide area to cover, and Nerchio is picking TY apart.
The execution is so good from Nerchio in the last...
Oh, and there it is in the bottom left corner. I think the refinery should be able to see that. Yeah, he has vision of it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think TY is looking at that.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He knows there is an Overlord there, but he's got bigger things to worry about with Vipers abducting all of his tanks and Vikings.
The
Does
Nidus
Nerchio have
has finished.
roaches?
Yeah, he's got 5 roaches and a Hydralisk inside of his main base. They can start to work away on some of these add-ons. Even with Drilling Claws, I mean, he's not going to be able to stop the endless torrent of units that can come out of this. He needs to get these tanks in position, sieged up, and even then he's still going to lose add-ons, which the Overlord could prevent being rebuilt by dropping creep there. So this is such a tense moment. He has to cover so many different areas. The left side base gets picked off by Nerchio. He's really pulling TY in every which direction.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of units in this process though, and I would have loved to see the Nidus being executed a little bit faster right on top of the production. Does get the medevac and the tank there. Wow, these roaches actually took care of those 2 tanks and the Widowmines that are there as well. At the same time, TY is trying to do some damage on the other side of the map as he's getting a couple of drones.
He's trying to rebuild his add-ons. They're being instantly destroyed again.
Is there like any mining now for TY, this army and just do it all over again?
Yeah.
These tanks are actually quite exposed. There are no Vipers here, but does he really need them?
Well, with the tank line, if these Hydras continue to push in, he should be able to get a little bit more work done, but all of the Widowmines are now on their cooldown. They get a few of the shots on the Vipers. Hydras continuing to attack. The tank line is backed up by 3 more sieged up. Yeah, once that Overseer pops, a lot of Widowmines are going to die, and there's still so many Vipers. He's as broke as TY, but he is actually making money. TY was able to land that center base. He bought himself some time, but the Vipers are back, picking off a few more of these units. The Widowmines are really heavily contributing here since he's not bringing Overseers, but it doesn't matter because by the time the Vikings kill these Vipers, the Roach Hydras killed everything else. GG!
Wow.